Hey, what's up, guys? How are you? Welcome back. Welcome to the not the very first, but welcome to my little project. I'm gonna call it the Rick P project. And that's just gonna be like a title. That's just gonna be like a placeholder for right now. But this is like a little podcast that I want to work on, and I want to have it something that's kind of like where I rant, kind of like a journal, kind of where I talk about video games, where I occasionally have a friend on and talk about things. And I want to focus like on my hobbies, streaming, video games, exercise, stuff like that. But also sometimes if I have somebody that's about something else, let's explore that part. But for the most part, I just want to talk about like my hobbies and stuff like that. So if you're into any of the above things, please drop by, Hangout. Appreciate it. If you just give us a listen, give me a listen. Yeah, let's just get right into it. I want to talk about tell you about myself a little bit. What I like to play. Lately, I've been playing a lot of Street Fighter Five to be exact, Championship Edition, and that game right there. I have so much nostalgia with that game. I've been playing it for so long, and I don't mean just Street Fighter Five, but Street Fighter in general, as a whole. I remember when I was younger, going to my cousin's house, and we went down to the 7-Eleven, and he showed me the cabinet for Street Fighter, and I think it was Street Fighter Two. Was it just playing Street Fighter Two? I think it might have been that. But I remember playing and just having such a good time with all the characters. And back then it was just like what, 6 characters, 8 characters, uh, Ken, Ryu, Honda, Chun Li, Blanca, Guile, Zangief, and who else? I'm gonna listen back and I'm gonna be like, "Duh, you forgot to say Sim or something." But I remember playing with those characters and having such a good time, and I was like, "What is this game?" And that's Street Fighter, and of course they had like other uh, arcade games out there. Like I think I remember playing Mortal Kombat too, but Mortal Kombat just from the get go, the visuals of that game just never caught on to me. So even recently, when the boys came over and introduced Mortal Kombat 11, I was like, nah, animation was too stiff. Now, don't get me wrong, I did enjoy playing Injustice for a little bit because I'm more of a DC fan than I am a NRS fan. So just playing with those characters, that was pretty cool. The interactions with it, but of course, it's an NRS game and it's just not for me. So, but going back to Street Fighter, um, that's another thing I want to work on, guys. When just kind of chatting, like my goal is, and I'm gonna go on a lot of tangents here. Like I'm gonna go on tangents, like focus on one thing, and then kind of just uh, go on tangent somewhere, just run with it, and then try to call back and circle around back to the main conversation. So just try to bear with me, guys. Like I said, this is kind of like a training exercise for me, so I could help me just stay like not only just talking, but make my thoughts and make the thoughts from my mind to my mouth just go and I have to think and I try to reduce the and yeah, stuff like that. That's something I want to reduce just to help me just express myself better. And I think that, and stop saying I think, I believe, in my opinion. So use other words like that. So I'm just trying to like better myself via just solo ranting. So hopefully this will get that, help me for that. But anyways, going back to Street Fighter, I really just liked it from day one. I fell in love with it, and I remember just looking at the magazine. I had like some issues of Nintendo Power, and they were talking about it. And Street Fighter was the rage. It was just the game. It was just everywhere we saw it. Excuse me. I'm always gonna have to make sure I have waters on hand too, because I just solo talking just dries you out. But I just remember it was all the rage, and I just loved playing it. And I remember when my parents got me and my brother got my parents got me and my brother a Super Nintendo, and I remember Street Fighter was one of the first games. And you guys could look over here, or if you guys are watching the video, that's an old SNES cartridge of Street Fighter 2. Yeah, it's kind of got some. I got some whiteout marks on there. This is my. If you guys are looking, this is kind of like my little shelf of geekdom and nerddom and all the stuff that I like. You guys could tell I like some anime, I like some video games. So if you're into that, you're in the right spot. But there I go again. Just gotta focus, man. Focus, chill. Just talk. Just talk. You're fine. Definitely Street Fighter, just a franchise that I always loved. And then with, of course, and I stayed with it. So when Third Strike came out, I enjoyed it. And then I remember when I had a PlayStation 2. One of my first games that I had, again going back over here, was CVS2, Capcom versus SNK2. And I just really enjoyed that game. I had such a blast, and that really was kind of my first insight into King of Fighters. And I knew about King of Fighters from going to the bowling alley and seeing the Neo Geo arcades. And they had, 4 different games on there. You'd see Metal Slug, you see Art of Fighting, King of Fighters. What's another one they had? I know Mark of Wolves was one of them, but I don't know if that was in the same cabinet with all of them. But you know how Neo Geo just had just several games in one. You just pick what you want, which I always thought that was interesting. So I was like, there's 4 games in this one arcade you could choose? Because I was just used to, one arcade had one game. So, yeah. And then I remember after PlayStation 2 era, after that, I kind of and even then, just fighting games in general, just kind of, at least when it comes from the Capcom side, I can recall they kind of were on a lull, and it wasn't until 2009 when Ono and his team at Capcom brought back Street Fighter 4, and I remember my buddy Kevin saying, "Oh yeah, I play Street Fighter 4." I'm like, "What? Yeah, you know?" I'm like, "Yeah, I used to play Street Fighter 4 all the time. I used to play Third Strike when they brought that over." Again, over here, Third Strike, that's the 15-year anniversary, guys. I think they're about to release a 35-year anniversary, because I think the 30-year anniversary already passed by, and I think they had a collection of all the old school Street Fighters put together. And my buddy Johnny had it. He had it on a Switch, and we were playing on the Joy-Cons, playing Street Fighter 2 Turbo and all that good stuff. But yeah, I remember just realizing and then going back to Street Fighter 4 on the 360, and I having just a good time. And that was when I had to learn. Well, when I was playing the Third Strike, let me backtrack a little bit. The 15-year anniversary, there was a special bundle that you could get some sticks with it. I think it was for the PlayStation 2 and for the Xbox. So it had 2 ports. So you just had to connect them, And it was that's when I really started sitting down learning with sticks. And ever since then, during that time, I became a stick purist. If you're not playing with arcade stick and if you're playing a pad, you're I would look down on you this is how you're supposed to play. You're supposed to play a stick. And looking back in retrospect, I realized that's just such a freaking gatekeeping mentality. If someone wants to play with a pad or a Guitar Hero controller or a DK bongos, let them play with whatever, dude. It didn't matter. But of course, I was younger then, so I was just just trying to be a purist. But regardless, and even now, I learned that when I play King of Fighter 15, I play that on pad. When I used to play a little bit of Tekken, I'd play that on pad. So it's now that I'm older, I realize, yeah, Rick, you don't have to just always play on stick. Guilty Gear, I play that on pad just to get access to everything, especially Strive. But yeah, and I remember during Street Fighter 4, that's when I remember again my buddy Kevin was telling me, you know what Evo is? I'm like, I've heard of it. Well, so and so grand finals with Luffy versus Bonchan. It was Sagat versus Rose, and I think Luffy got it that year. I forgot what year it was, and I was like, what? What is all this about? Yeah, they have tournaments and everything. And little by little, I think we kept playing Street Fighter 4, but we never watched any of the online tournaments. And by we, I mean me and my gang, my circle of buddies. And then we, caught wind, Street Fighter 5 is coming out. We saw that, and we were all so excited. That weekend when the game came out, I had the gang come over. We all played all night in the garage, and it was fun, dude. And that was how I started learning more about FGC and what it is, and started watching more online events. And through that, I was able to meet other friends and other friends that were into fighting games, and it just kind of like snowballed from there because my buddy Kevin introduced me to Dirk, and me and Dirk kind of hit it off right at the gate. And he'd come over and we'd play fighting games. And I'm going to try to have him on the podcast one day just to chit chat and give you his perspective, because he does have a different perspective, a unique perspective when it comes to these other games. Because he'll play the stuff like, I'm like, what? This is a game? He's like, yeah, it's a game. It's a game. But Dirk eventually asked me one day. He's like, hey, you mind if I bring my friends over? So I was like, okay, sure. And he introduced me to John, which is still a friend of mine, and my buddy Jermont, rest in peace. Unfortunately, he's not with us anymore. And then through hanging out with Johnny, he introduced me to Pete, and it got to the point where me and John hit it off, and he would just like message me on Friday nights like, hey, Dirk's busy, but you don't mind if I come over? Like, nah, dude, come over. And then we just started hanging out, and then Pete started hanging out, and we just started having a really good time, and we did that for a good while until eventually, COVID came around, and it just, I mean, we didn't know what we knew now, so it's like we don't want anybody to get sick, And back then, I wasn't really in the best of shape. It wasn't until it was like the end of 2019. Beginning of 2020 when I really started taking care of myself, and that was when when COVID was just coming around, like that February, March, So by then it was just like, yeah, man, I don't know what this stuff is. I don't want to risk it, And I wasn't like I was afraid for myself, but I just didn't want to give it to my wife because she has some conditions, and I just didn't want to, just how it was, guys. Y'all all remember that we all went through with it. But and then I got into streaming, and streaming just opened up more windows and just more, people to see and check out. And I was able to meet more people and other people, and just kind of building on a community. And I've actually made friends just from playing Street Fighter online. They'd come after a match, they'd come on, and sometimes you expect them to like talk shit because it's gaming online, how it is, guys. It's so freaking toxic. No matter whether you're playing LOL or Call of Duty or a fighting game, but sometimes there's that one dude that after a match will just blatantly just talk so much shit, and it's just like, dude, shut up, dude, because if you were in the same room as me, you wouldn't say that, dude. That. But every once in a while, and I never really got that on Street Fighter. I have some people show up and say good games, and they give me a follow, and a couple of people I actually became friend with, my buddy Ninja Panic and GDB, Gosh Damn Bat. They'd come over and they said good games, and we started just kind of hanging out and just kind of like became friends after that, and been doing that for a while. So that's one thing I do like about online gaming now, especially streaming. Yeah, sometimes you come across some just interesting people that you really could just hit it off with, and that's really interesting and fun. As for but one thing I didn't like about Street Fighter 5, like when it first came out, it was so, guys, I'm going to kind of like focus. I'm going a little side tangent. I'm going to try to keep these at around 45 minutes to an hour roughly. And so just kind of bear with me. So if it feels like I'm kind of like it abruptly ends, it's just because I'm trying to keep it under a certain time limit, because I want to be at a certain point where the subject that I want to talk about is discussed. And I don't want to go on too much where I just like I want to have a nice, I just don't want to ramble and say more than I don't have to, because then I just be like, oh, okay, we got it. It's just now he's just talking, and which But like I said, guys, this is episode 1, and I'm just kind of like practicing. So it's gonna like, is my content gonna suck right at the gate? Probably. But you know what? How do you get better? You keep doing it, and you keep doing it, and you keep doing it. Like me, I remember when I first started like exercising, it's like just doing sit-ups and push-ups. Like push-ups are so hard. How do you get better at push-ups? We keep doing push-ups. First, you could barely do 5, and then you could do 10, and now you could do them, all the way to the bottom, all the way to the top. With the narrow stance, with the wide stance. It's just, you just got to get better and do it more and more. So that's what I'm kind of hoping with this. And I have some experience doing some podcasts. So I'm kind of hoping everything from before kind of transfers over here and just helps me. And even what I learned from here, I hope it transfers onto something else, whether I could use it in real life or just communicating with other people or anything. I always tell myself, especially when it comes to video games, like fighting games, exactly, is just become 1% better. Next time you play, become 1% better. If you have to come, if you leave a session just learning something different, something new to make yourself better, you did a good thing. Whether it's learning how to shimmy or work on your neutral, or knowing when to start recognizing some patterns and frames and stuff like that. And that's one thing I do like about fighting games, where if I lose, it's because of me. I did something wrong. It's not because of my 4 other team members went off and did something stupid and then we all died. No, if something happened, it's because I did something wrong or I did something right. That's how it works. I like that. There's no, you can't just shift the blame to somebody else. Like, oh, dude, you weren't taking care of mid, or you weren't watching the sides, or you let the so and so get through. Like, oh, what were you thinking? No, dude, no. This is to you. You should have tech that. You should have got a better read, or you should not have. You should have done an optimal combo. That's what I like about fighting games and Souls games. I love that, because Souls games, it almost feels like the mentality that I get, it comes down to like a fighting game, because if I die, it's because I did something wrong. I didn't learn something. I have to learn a pattern, and that's what I like. And you gotta learn when to get in and get out, and don't be greedy with your hits. So definitely, those two genres are some of my favorite: Souls and fighting. 100%. Fighting games, I almost pick up just about almost. I won't say every, but a lot of the major fighting games that come out. Of course, Street Fighter, recently King of Fighters, Tekken, MVCI, BB Tag, Grand Blue, the ones that just came out. And Jesus Christ, dude, and RIP Grand Blue, dude. That game just came out at the worst possible time. It was early March. First it released in Asia, and then 3 weeks later, I want to say it came stateside. And it was a fun game, but I noticed right at the gate, they're like, here's season 1 characters and season 2 characters are about to get announced. I'm like, wait, what? Season 2 characters are about to get announced? I get it. Fighting games got to make their money, okay? And having character passes is one way of doing it, for sure. But it's like, dude, is this what you guys are just kind of this just gonna be the strategy? Just start just throwing things. You guys I mean, again, I get it. You gotta make money, but at the same time, it's this is your fan base, man. Why are you gonna throttle them? But going back to Grand Blue, I remember it just came out around March, and it was fun. It was unique, where they had simple inputs that you could use instead of doing the command inputs. And it was fun because it'll put it on cooldown, and you get the same effect. Well, okay, I'd say you get a similar effect. Of course, I think it would do less damage, and maybe some of the properties change. I can't recall, but visually, visually and the audio, it just looks so good. It was so wonderful. It was so pretty to play. But then when COVID hit and everything was shut down, all the offline events were on lockdown, and everything had to go online. It just couldn't exist. It just couldn't exist. At least not in a scale where you could go maybe if I played my buddy Johnny in town, because he just lives on across town, it might be working if we're both on PC side or something like that. But as for trying to play on the PlayStation, or from coast to coast, or from just halfway through the nation, because I live in Texas, so and it's so weird though, because being in Texas, and when it comes to games like Guilty Gear, what server do you want to play in, East Coast or West Coast? I'm like, and then it shows the server range map of how far they reach, and Texas is right in the middle. I guess I'll go East Coast, I guess, and then if I'm not getting enough matches, I'll go West Coast. It sits right in the middle, so that's kind of a good bad thing. So I mean, well, Guilty Gear wasn't that problem. Wasn't much of a problem playing online. The only thing I had an issue with that was loading game, starting game, loading game, starting game, connecting to server, connecting to server, connecting to like. Oh my god, that was like pulling teeth, dude. I was like, I just want to play a game. Of course, I haven't gone back to Guilty Gear. I should. That's one thing when it comes to fighting games with me nowadays, guys. I don't buy battle passes anymore. I got burned with Street Fighter, and that's gonna be a callback to Street Fighter and character passes, and why I didn't like what they did with Street Fighter, because like I said, I was there day one, and I bought the I bought the I bought the online version because I on the PlayStation, because I wasn't into PC gaming back then. But I bought it on the PlayStation, the online, and I remember getting like premiere outfit for Chun-Li, which she looks great. And then I got the game and just playing with my buddies, because they came over that weekend, and we just played versus mode. And we had a good time. But I remember like that first week, that first month, like doing lobbies. It was like just one. It was like two people lobbies, 2-person lobbies. The CFN was kind of spotty. The online store, I don't remember it. Originally, they wanted to implement some sort of Zenny system, but excuse me, guys. They wanted to implement some sort of Zenny system, but that didn't really work out either. And then they went to a sort of a fight money mechanic where you play certain, like you do like their story modes, you do their trials, you play survival with them. There was no, and you get fight money and you could use that to unlock colors, and it was so bare bones and crude and so almost rudimentary compared to like these other games, how they are now. But I remember just being such a fan of Street Fighter that I didn't care. It was fun. It was fine. If you want to play, if you want to play the hardcore, just online matches, and here for FGC stuff, and watching the streams, and watching Evos and combo breakers and CEO and the Capcom Pro Tour, that's what you hear about. But the thing is like those kind of fans, they'll buy the game and they'll keep playing it, but the casuals, if there's nothing for them there, if there's nothing for them to play, they're not gonna come back to the game. They're gonna play like, oh yeah, I remember Guile. I like Guile. I want to play with him. Oh, he's not here. He's in a season 1 character pass, so I gotta buy that to play him. Oh, okay. Well, I'll play Bison. Okay, I'll play Bison. I remember Bison. Where's the Psycho Crusher? Oh, he doesn't have a. Oh, okay. So they changed. Okay. Let's go play. But that's what it was. It's like, and I understand you have to make some changes, to keep the game fresh. But how do you find that balance to keep new players coming in and them telling their friends to play and have a good time, like how they used to play back in the day, And that being said, for them, if they have any history of playing it back in the day, the game came out February 16, 2016, and that date's going to be forever etched in my mind, guys. I'm going to remind you every time, trust me. So if you're playing that, and if you're like an old head like I am, and trying to play the game, it's like, dude, like, you obviously know something about the game, but they didn't do anything really to, like, keep the casuals there, So... me being just really a real passionate fan of Street Fighter, I just wanted to play, and I liked it, and I bought the Capcom Pro Tour bundle, so part of the proceeds went to the pot to help, but they always said parts, so you never knew how much lined Capcom's pockets, but you got a stage, you got a costume for another character, and stuff like that, and titles and a profile card, but of course that didn't matter, but. After a while, but they did it again for season 2, and I was like, okay, yeah, no problem. And unfortunately, my buddies were like, it was around because the pro tours usually start around spring, and that's when my birthday is. So I was fortunate enough that my buddy Johnny was able to gift me, I think, season 2 for my birthday. He's like, hey Rig, here's a gift card for the pro tour or the season 2 Street Fighter. Oh, thank you, man, appreciate it. And then after that, I just kind of like. My love for Street Fighter 5 started waning, and I just kind of like, I mean, I never like, it never got to the point where I hated the game, but I was just like, I just had to take a step back. I mean, and I would still watch it here and there. And that happened like after season 2. I remember Abigail coming out, and I'm not gonna lie, guys. Like seeing season 2 and knowing like these are gonna be all brand new characters, I was kind of like, brand new characters. Where's Dudley? Where's Sagat? Where's freaking DJ or Adon or Rose or all this other plethora of characters, this whole roster that they have? Where are these guys? Why aren't they coming back? And of course, you got to remember the mindset of them bringing in new characters. They could bring in new mechanics and new play styles, and it's like, yeah, I guess you're right. And it wasn't until like I saw Abigail when I realized, okay, what they were doing, or the season after when they introduced Ed. Actually, let me stick with Abigail first. Abigail, when I first saw him, I was just like, this guy's just a mountain, dude. He's just a wall. And his playstyle, his normals was just so far reaching, and he had these really unique moves, and for this character. And I kind of realized, like, okay, I could see how this could work. You have, I see the potential. And then characters like Ed and Falk, who don't have actual like inputs. It's like if you want to do these moves, you have to hit 2 buttons, 2 punches, or 2 kicks, or stuff like that. And I was like, that's actually interesting. It's actually interesting. I mean, they're not always like, I don't think they were like the strongest players. I think Falk got some buffs, I think, or something like that. But but then that made me realize, like, yeah, dude, sometimes you gotta have new characters just to try new things, and not all new character paid off. Like, there's some are just kind of like, okay, kind of like Nikali, which, look, guys, I'm gonna tell you right now, I'm a Nikali main. Okay, I kind of when the game first started, I kind of like dabbled with like Lara, a little bit of Nash, of course Ryu, but then I just settled with Nikali. But the thing about Nikali is, though, it's like, why is he there? Like, he was supposed to be like some sort of like antagonist, antagonist in Street Fighter 5, and he was supposed to be like the main bad guy, and he was some sort of ancient power that devours other fighters so he could absorb them. But it's like he just kind of like disappeared into a Mudman goat lamb, and that's it. And just devour. I mean, I like his style, I like his looks, I like his play style. I like playing Akali. I really do. I mean, I like his style of just being in their face and just rushing them, and then they keep blocking all that. You freaking hit them with the overheads, or you hit them with command grabs and stuff like that. I really do like Akali style. And it's funny, my boy Trip asked me, Rick, when Street Fighter 6 comes around, if they don't bring Akali, you gonna be upset? I'm like, no. If he doesn't come back, I'm totally fine with it. I mean, look, I like Nikali, but I'm not like, oh my god, this is my new main. He's gonna be the only character I ever play in every game from here on out. No. I mean, don't get me wrong. If he does come back, like, I'll definitely give him a shot and try him out. Of course, I definitely want to try out Dudley. Dudley was always one of my favorites, especially in Third Strike and Street Fighter 4. Like, I think Dudley was just one of the coolest characters. He's just like so refined and snobby and just like professional and polished, like even the way he fights and everything. I'm like, yeah, I really did like Dudley. He was so cool. And I was hoping I'd see him. Like, at one point I did want to see Dudley in Street Fighter 5, but then I realized, not this game. I don't want to see him here. Not this game. I want to see him somewhere else. I don't know. And I don't know what somewhere else is, whether it's Street Fighter 6 or Street Fighter X Tekken or Tekken X Street Fighter or whatever. But like, after I realized, like, yeah, you know what? I don't want Dudley here. Let's put him somewhere else. So hopefully with Street Fighter 6 being, and I saw rumors today that it might be some news on it on the Sony State of Play, which is coming up pretty soon. So if there is news on that, I will definitely be checking in. I'm making notes and just talking about that later on as we get more news on it. Because Street Fighter 6, like, I know I said like I don't want to support a Street Fighter game, but as a fan, I still want to play the game. But maybe, like I said, what I'm doing with these fighting games now is like I'll buy the base game and not get all the extra bells and whistles, because it's almost like rinse, wash, and repeat with these fighting game companies, where it's like, here's the game, here's a deluxe version, here's a super ultra deluxe version, here's a digital deluxe mega ultra edition, and then you realize like, what? It's just bullshit ass costumes, maybe a little steel book, a figurine, a keychain. It's like, do I really need all that stuff? I mean, as I have all this stuff hanging out in the background, it just becomes like, and then for sure, like, 3 months after release, like, it's on sale. Like, what? Oh, come on, that's why I haven't. So ever since then, I think the last one I bought a season pass for was Grand Blue Fantasy Versus when that came out. I remember buying it, and I was like, okay, cool. But then that game just didn't stick around. And then the next game I bought after that, Multi Blood Type Lumina. But that game right there, what French Bread does, to my collection as of May 27th, 2022, is I don't think they have any paid DLC. I think everything that they've provided up until now is free. And I think it's like 4 different characters and a new stage. So that practice I could definitely get behind. I think that's awesome. They know what they're servicing their fans, and I love that. And honestly, when it comes to French Bread, I remember playing Unist. I remember we were at Dirk's apartment, and I saw him and Alan play, and I saw it was like Merkava versus I forgot who, but I saw that, and I was like, who are these characters? What is this game? He's like, yeah, this game's pretty easy, dude. It's just ABC, D for special stuff and blocking, and like Eunice, in my heart of hearts, is the truth. I had so much fun playing that game. The way it handled and you're able to manipulate your characters and it moved, and the speed of the game, it was so much. Excuse me, guys. It was so much fun. Hold on, I'm giving it a drink. Oh, and my coffee turned cold, dude. Sorry, guys. That's what I get for just talking for that long and ignoring my cup. I should have had another. I need to put it like in a pot and just kind of pour it as I go. Every time I need a break or I need something to think, a moment to think. But Eunice, in my heart of hearts, dude, that game was the truth, dude. I had so much fun playing with it. I'll be honest, guys. I never fully grasped the mechanics of it. If I go back, I'm like, I know there's like a little grid, and the more offensive you are, it starts building, and then once it feels, I don't know. I mean, and I know I say that it's one of I say it's the truth, but at the same time, I don't know all the mechanics. But either way, regardless of not knowing all the mechanics, it was just such a fun game to play. Like I said, the music, the character animations, the style, it was just so cool. I really liked that game. So I remember when it was back in, I think it was June 2018. Actually, no, it was like early spring, late winter, and I think there was a beta for BB Tag, and Johnny's like, dude, we need to download it and play it. Sure enough, dude, that Friday we downloaded and played it, and the gang came over. Oh my god, like, this is what an anime versus game is. And I don't know if you guys ever played freaking BB Tag, but that game is so nuts. It's actually so nuts and crazy that it's actually fun. It's so cool and stylish. Like if I could go back and play that one, if I get the boys to come over and be like, hey, tonight we're gonna play BB Tag, like, I would definitely be down with that one. And same with MVCI, Marvel versus Capcom. That game I actually had fun with, and I would play with Nemesis, Winter Soldier, and Power Stone. And the thing about that game, I think, in my opinion, it came out at a wrong time. People were upset about the way Capcom was handling Street Fighter V, and then when MVCI came out, I will admit it wasn't the best looking fighting game that I've seen. If you look at Captain America's shoulders, if you look at Chun-Li's face, if you look at Dante's face, you're kind of like... But the thing is, when it comes to fighting game visuals, me personally, when I'm playing a fighting game, I get tunnel vision, and I'm looking at the space between my two characters, mine and the opponent. I'm looking at that. And of course the peripherals, the health bar, the meter bar, and everything. But all the graphics go away. And don't get me wrong, like if I'm watching my friends play Guilty Gear, oh, it's a spectacle to watch that game because it's just so pretty. But when I'm playing the game, all the graphics go out the window. All I'm seeing is two characters and just the peripheral stuff. Like it's nothing. It's not about being pretty anymore. Now it's about just your spacing and getting your buttons to land and then getting your hit confirms and then doing all your combos. So when people say, "Oh, it looks like garbage," I'm like, dude, just play the game. It's not meant to be. Maybe it was meant to be pretty, but if it's not pretty, it's fine. Just look at the mechanics. And again, I say this not being really invested in the other Marvel series, because I did play Marvel versus Capcom, the first one on PS1, but that was just back in like my high school days when the guys would come over and we just put it on the PlayStation and we just play and blah 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 whatever, And I remember MVC2 came out, and my cousin had it on the Dreamcast, but I never played it. And then I remember Kevin having Marvel versus Capcom 3. I don't know if it was just vanilla one or ultimate. But again, I was just like, okay, Marvel, cool. But it wasn't until MVCI came out, and like I said, that was when, because of Street Fighter 5, I was just all about Capcom and fighting games. So when I saw that, I was like, okay, we'll give it a shot. And Johnny, sure enough, he's like, hey, dude, was that Marvel though? Fuck it, bro, let's get it. So I remember getting a copy of Marvel, and I had a fun time playing with I think at first I was playing with Nemesis, and I want to say maybe Ultron, or who else? I can't recall, but I remember Black Panther, Monster Hunter. Monster Hunter was cool as shit, dude. Monster Hunter was so cool. Winter Soldier, Black Widow, Venom. Was there somebody else that came out in that DLC? Sigma. I think it was Sigma also. Yeah, and Sigma. Oh my god, Sigma's a beast, bro. Dude, the way Dirk would play him, dude, it was insane. But I remember settling on Winter Soldier and Nemesis and using the Power Stone. I was like, oh my god, this just felt so good. Freaking. And Nemesis was so cool because he had armor in all his hits. So he go, bro, just punching through everything and freaking hitting him with the ramen noodles. Like, this was so cool. So I really enjoyed MVCI for what it was, and I had a blast. But unfortunately, the thing is, when it comes to fighting games, before COVID and we're just playing offline, like if nobody wanted to play the game, we just didn't play it. Like it just came down to, what did everybody want to play? We had, between all of us, we had access to just about every fighting game, whether it was SoCal or UNIS or MVCI or Skullgirls. Like it'd be like, hey, who has it on what console? Oh, it's on my console. Like, okay, just bring it, and then we'll hook it up, and then we'll just play. So we were able to just really have access to almost every fighting game, and it was fun, dude. It was. I had a blast when the guys would show up, and it'd be like 4 or 5 of us, and we're just watching. And then I was getting into streaming, so I'd set it up in the garage. So I had this weird camera angle, kind of like pointing at us, but the lighting was all crappy, and and I really had a good time. So, and that's one thing of my hobbies that I really enjoy, is streaming. Now that I got into PC gaming, I'm able to stream and get a nice mic set up and a nice camera, and then just play on the PC. I did have a good time. Every once in a while, it's been a while though, but I'd have the boys come over and we just play on. Last time we did it like that was when Guilty Gear Strive came out back in. Oh my god, it's almost a year since Guilty Gear came out. I remember having Pete, Dirk, and Johnny come over, and oh my god, dude! And Guilty Gear was never one of my main games, so I was kind of like I'm gonna just play Kai, right? He's like freaking Ryu, okay? He's like Mr. Street Fighter, the equivalent of, and I'm just gonna play him. And I stuck with him. He has a DP, the fireballs, stuff like that. Oh my god, these boys just murked me, dude. Murked me. I was like, oh, okay. But Guilty Gear is so cool game, dude. I love the music, stylish. But and then I remember getting into King of Fighters when that came out, and I had a good time with it. And then I remember I was playing with Blue Mary, Ralph, and Robert. That was my team. And I remember I was playing my buddy Viet, and we were having a good time. And then all of a sudden, the game would just freeze. I'm like, what? All right. Well, let me start the lobby, and then we'd play, and then it freeze. Like, oh, great, just great. And then I just remember like, just I don't know, got really turned off by the game, and I think I went back to Street Fighter, and I just haven't came back to that game, and I kind of do miss it. I was like, come on, Rick, you gotta get back to King Fighters because they actually did a good job with it. You know, again, I didn't buy in the DLC because. Like Rock Howard is pretty cool, but I think you have to buy the whole team. And honestly, there's so many characters in that game that I haven't really sat down and played with. Like, why should I buy more characters when I haven't even like really focused on playing these other ones? So it's like, Mom, I want more fighters. Like, well, what? You got these fighters at home. So yeah, Street Fighter. Now I'm kind of like in a renaissance with it. I'm going back. I've been playing it, especially now that I can stream it and playing on the PC. And oh my god, dude, playing on the PC, because I started playing it on the PC and playing online connections, and and it's for the most part, every once in a while you might have a bad connection, 100% that does happen. But it's maybe 1 out of 10 matches, and then the CFN compared to where it was day one to where it is now, and not just CFN, the Capcom Fighter Network, but just Street Fighter 5 as a whole, like where it is now compared to where it was then. Oh, for sure. I remember someone saying Street Fighter 5 was a free-to-play game with a premium game price tag. And if you in retrospect, like, yeah, it was. What they offered, what they had at day one, it should have been a free-to-play game. And they charge you full price, And I think that's what I'm upset about. When I was upset about it, I think I am still upset about it. It's just, I don't know. I treat Street Fighter like an ex-girlfriend. You know how sometimes you look back and you have these fond memories, like, oh yeah, it was such a good time, and then you're like, oh yeah, this is why I don't like her. Yeah, fuck that bitch. That's how it is with Street Fighter sometimes. They're like, oh yeah, I remember having such a good time, and then it's like, what was I thinking? I must have been young, But definitely where it is now compared to where it was, it's a night and day difference, and it's actually very playable, very enjoyable, and I don't get it when people there's some people who just shit on the online, like, oh, it has shitty netcode. Like, dude, you don't even play, okay? You're playing on a base PlayStation, and granted, after playing on PC, I was messing around with my base PS4, and I was like, you know what? I had it all hooked up and connected. I was like, you know what? Let's do it. I updated Street Fighter 5 and everything, and I was hardlined. I was like, let's do an online match. Let's see how this goes. Oh. Now, if you're still on a base PS4 and you're playing Street Fighter 5 online, I just hope you're hardlined and you pick training stage as your stage, because like I said, talking to Johnny, he told me, yeah, dude, some stages increase the lag. I'm like, what? Yeah, you see how all the graphics and all the things moving in the background, that just takes power from the PlayStation to take a function. I'm like, oh, I didn't even think about that. So stages like Deserted Temple, where there's rain and trees blowing in the background and lightning, yeah, that stage is gonna bog you down, bro. I was like, no way. Yeah, it does. So but hopefully at this point, if you are a Street Fighter 5 enthusiast, fan, online warrior, hopefully you play on at least a PlayStation 4 Pro or PC, because that's the way to go, dude. It really is. It really is. The technology with PS4 compared to, it's just old technology. It's old tech, So trying to play on that, I feel for you. If that's the only way you can play, get it, dog. Get it, dog. I mean, it's still good for offline play, for sure. And I remember just, I know Combo Breakers, actually, by the way, guys, it is Memorial Day weekend. I know Combo Breakers going on, and I was watching some of Brian F streams, and he said, but he was streaming on his base PS4 because just to get to get in the like to get your timing down and your tendencies, because there is some difference between PC and PlayStation. So you got to be prepared for that. I've heard some people say there's a lot of difference, so that's something you got to be prepared for, guys. But look, I wanted to keep this at 45 minutes, and we just reached that, and I'm surprised I was able to like do that. No, I'm not lying. I know this was mostly about fighting games and just kind of ranting and raving and just going off all over the place and just kind of like just. But anyways, I'm gonna do more of these. I'm slowly gonna be working on the podcast. I'm gonna like stockpile some videos, and then once I decide on where I want to host them at, I'm gonna release them slowly. So, like I said, I want to focus anywhere between 45 minutes to an hour. You know, because I think that's like the sweet spot. And like, don't get me wrong, if I could do an hour and a half, 2 hours, sure. But that's if I have someone to engage with and have just, ideas coming back and forth. I don't want to be, 2 hours of just me talking and then circling back and then circling back and then wait, did I just talk about that again? I'm like, no. I mean, just be good with my timing and words. Not overstay my welcome. So with that said, we're gonna keep it at just under, 50 minutes. And hopefully with that, we get some good practice in. And then hopefully we'll have some more. We will bring some more for sure. But anyways, guys, I'm done for the night. Enjoy your evening or your day or whatever you're doing. But have a good night. Have a good day. Make sure you take care of yourselves. Get some exercise. Eat right. And all that good stuff. Because, well, I'll tell you more on another podcast. But anyways, good night and goodbye. See you guys.